She stayed quiet when he followed her, stayed calm when he pulled her over. But the day he humiliated her in front of everyone, that's when her father came home. It happened in the hallway between third and fourth period, right in front of everyone. Jordan Banks was walking with her binder hugged tight against her chest, head down, moving quick like she always did. She wasn't shy, just focused. 17, with early acceptance letters already sitting in her inbox. Valedictorian bound. No drama, no noise. Just her books, and her plans. But that Wednesday, everything changed. Officer Bradley Keene, the town cop assigned to work security at Melrose High in southern Arkansas, was standing near the cafeteria doors. He had his thumb tucked under his duty belt like he owned the place. A few students were around him, laughing at something he said. Jordan didn't look at him. She never did. As she passed, he stepped forward, too close. He said, loud enough for others to hear, "You watching where you're going, young lady?" Jordan stopped, confused. I am. Sorry, she asked, startled. Keene smirked. Then, almost casually, he tilted a bottle of water forward. His hand bumped hers. The bottle slipped, or maybe it didn't. Either way, the cold water splashed straight onto the front of her shirt. She gasped. Papers dropped. The hallway erupted. Keene's tone didn't change. Oops. Guess someone's clumsy today. The words cut sharper than the water. Jordan stood there, soaked. The laughter around her crawled under her skin like fire ants. Her shirt stuck to her body. Her hair was dripping. Her face was burning. She didn't say anything. She didn't even look at him. She just picked up her papers, turned, and walked away. But that look in her eyes, that wasn't just humiliation. It was confusion and fear. Jordan didn't cry in the bathroom. She didn't cry when she changed shirts in the nurse's office or when she skipped lunch to sit in an empty classroom. She held it in, just like always. But something had shifted, because this wasn't the first time Officer Keene had gone out of his way to bother her. The first time was subtle. A stop sign near the edge of town. She was driving home from work at the public library one evening. Headlights off in the parking lot. He waited like he knew her schedule. He said she rolled to stop. She didn't. He asked questions that had nothing to do with driving. Wanted to know where she was going. What was in her bag? Why she looked nervous. She told her mom, but brushed it off. The second time, he showed up at her job. Didn't order anything. Just stood by the front door, arms crossed, watching her shelve books, smiling. There was no reason. Jordan never got into trouble. Never gave attitude. She was quiet, always respectful. So she started asking herself the question no teenager should ever have to ask. Why me? The answer came in whispers and glances. Tyler Keene. Same school. Same year. Son of the cop. They shared AP history and nothing else. Except a debate they'd had in class 2 months earlier. Jordan had made a solid argument about systemic inequality. Tyler didn't like being corrected, especially not by a girl who looked like her. That day, she'd won. The class clapped. His jaw clenched. It wasn't just that debate, though. Tyler used to be top of the class. Now he was second. Jordan took that spot. He was used to people laughing at his jokes. Then the star point guard, Malik, started walking Jordan to class. And that's when things got weird. She'd catch him staring, whispering to friends when she walked by, posting cryptic stuff online. And then his dad, Officer Keene, started showing up everywhere. What Jordan didn't know was this. Tyler had told his father she was disrespectful, that she'd started stuff, that she was always talking back. He twisted moments in his stories, left out details, painted himself as the victim. And Officer Keene, he believed him, no questions asked. But Jordan still didn't know the full story. All she knew was things were getting worse. By Friday, Jordan couldn't pretend anymore. She walked through school like a shadow, quiet, tight-lipped, shoulders pulled in, eyes down. Everyone had seen the hallway incident. Some had laughed. Most stayed silent. And even though no one said it out loud, she could feel the shift. The air changed when she walked into a room. The looks, the whispers, the pity. She hated the pity most of all. During lunch, she sat in the back corner of the library, pretending to study. Her hands wouldn't stop shaking. Every time someone walked by the glass windows, her heart jumped. When the librarian asked if she was okay, she nodded. Of course she nodded. But something cracked that afternoon. Mr. Reynolds, her U.S. government teacher, caught her after class. He was young, early 30s, and one of the few teachers who actually listened. He'd been there the day of the debate, saw what Tyler had said, saw the shift afterward, saw her change. "Jordan," he said gently, standing in the doorway. "Wait a sec." She paused, clutching her binder like it could shield her from everything. "You sure everything's all right?" She hesitated. "I'm fine. Are you?" "Because I've been teaching long enough to know when a student's not fine." That was all it took. She didn't burst into tears. She didn't collapse. But her voice cracked, and her shoulders started to shake. And Mr. Reynolds stepped back and gave her space. Not pressure, just space. "I didn't do anything," she finally whispered. "I believe you," he said. That was the first time someone had said that out loud. He didn't try to fix it. He didn't rush her. He just asked if she wanted to talk to someone, maybe the principal, maybe a counselor, maybe someone at the district level. Jordan shook her head. She didn't trust the system anymore. But that night, when she got home and saw her dad's boots by the front door, mud still fresh on the soles, she froze. He was back. Colonel Elijah Banks. Retired, technically. Still carried himself like he was on duty. Still spoke like every word had weight. He hadn't told anyone he was coming home early. He never did. He just showed up when it mattered. And he could see it in her face the moment she walked through the door. "What happened?" he asked, calm as ever. Jordan stood in the kitchen, fingers trembling over the zipper of her backpack. Her mother, Rel, looked up from the stove but didn't speak. Jordan looked at them both. Then she told them everything. The stop, the library, the hallway, the water, Tyler. She expected anger, maybe a slammed fist, a curse word, a demand to drive down to the school that night. But Elijah didn't do any of that. He just nodded once, quiet, measured, then walked into his office, closed the door, and didn't come out for the rest of the night. But what Jordan didn't know yet was that her father wasn't just listening. He was planning. Colonel Elijah Banks didn't sleep that night. He sat in his office with the door closed, surrounded by old files, a laptop he never let anyone touch, and a folder marked FIA that he hadn't opened in years. While the rest of the house was quiet, Elijah moved with the same precision he carried through 3 decades of classified missions across continents. He didn't pace. He didn't rant. He gathered intel. By sunrise, he had Officer Bradley Keene's entire public record pulled. Traffic stop patterns, complaints, use of force reports, every document he could access legally. And a few he got from people who owed him favors. And what he saw, a pattern most people didn't look close enough to connect the dots. Elijah did. He always did. And the dots spelled one thing clear. Bradley Keene had a problem with young black kids who talked back, did well, but didn't know their place. And his son, Tyler? Just like his father. Same seed, different uniform. That morning, Elijah sat across from Jordan at the breakfast table. She barely touched her toast. He didn't push her. He just asked a simple question. "You trust me?" Jordan nodded. "Good," he said, pushing a manila envelope toward her. Because this ends today. Later that afternoon, Elijah showed up at Melrose High. Not with noise. Not with threats. Just presence. He didn't wear a uniform. Didn't need to. His frame alone turned heads. His voice, low and steady, carried more weight than shouting ever could. He asked to speak with the principal, a quiet woman named Denise Thornton, who'd been trying to stay out of the mess. She didn't expect a visit from a man with military posture and cold precision in his eyes. Elijah didn't yell. He laid the documents out on her desk, quietly, clearly, fact after fact, complaint after complaint, pattern after pattern. He explained what his daughter had gone through and asked one thing. "Do you want to fix this inside this building, or do I need to take it outside?" Principal Thornton looked through the pages. Her face changed. He didn't wait for an answer. He already had the next meeting scheduled, with a civil rights attorney in Little Rock and a journalist who'd written on police misconduct for the Arkansas Tribune. And as word began to spread, the people who laughed in the hallway on Wednesday, they weren't laughing anymore. But Elijah wasn't here for revenge. He was here for accountability. And he wasn't done yet. Monday morning came with a storm. Not outside, but inside the walls of Melrose High and the Pine Bluff Police Department. Before first period even started, Officer Bradley Keene was asked to step into a private meeting with Principal Thornton and a district representative. He walked in smirking. walked out with his badge sitting on the table behind him. Suspension pending investigation. That was the start. By noon, Elijah's contact at the Arkansas Tribune had published a piece titled High School Honor Student Harassed by Local Officer. Father Speaks Out. It wasn't sensational. It didn't need to be. The facts did the work. It included dash cam timestamps, public complaints, testimony for past students, even a quote from Mr. Reynolds. She's one of the most respectful, focused students I've ever taught. This wasn't about behavior. This was personal. By the time Jordan got his sixth period, her phone wouldn't stop buzzing. The local news picked it up next. Channel 7 ran the story that evening. They blurred her face, but everyone at school knew who it was. The girl who kept her head down. The girl who never made trouble. The girl who'd been humiliated on purpose. Now, everything was turning. Tyler Keene tried to lay low. His little online comments deleted. His friends quiet. Even the basketball player who once laughed at his joke wouldn't make eye contact. No one wanted to be next. Jordan? She didn't gloat. She didn't strut. She just walked into school like she always had. Except, this time, her shoulders were back. And when she passed the hallway where it all happened, the water, the laughter, the humiliation, something shifted inside her. Not anger. Not revenge. Peace. Outside of school, things got louder. 3 other students came forward with similar stories. 2 black boys and 1 girl, who said Officer Keene had stopped them without cause, accused them of things they didn't do, and made them feel afraid. Now, the story wasn't just about Jordan. It was about a pattern. Elijah didn't say much publicly. He gave one quiet interview. Just one. The reporter asked why he didn't push harder, go after the officer with lawsuits and more heat. Elijah's response was simple. Sometimes the truth is the loudest thing in the room. I don't need to destroy a man. I just need the truth to do its job. That truth did more than damage reputations. It sparked meetings at the school board. It forced the police department to look at their training. It gave a handful of scared kids the courage to speak up, not just at Melrose, but in nearby towns too. In Jordan, she got invited to speak at a student leadership summit in Phil. Talked about dignity, fear, and what it feels like when the people in charge forget you're still a kid. She ended her speech with a line that didn't come from a speechwriter or a teacher. It came from her dad. Silence isn't always weakness. Sometimes it's the moment before the truth walks into the room. But even after all that, one final moment was still coming. It wouldn't involve reporters, principals, or news cameras. It would just be a conversation, face to face. It was a week later. No cameras, no microphones, no audience. Just a small room inside the district office. Neutral walls, foldable chairs, a clock ticking too loud. Jordan sat across from Bradley Keene, who now looked nothing like the man who poured water on a teenage girl in front of a crowd. No badge, no uniform, just a man sitting stiff in a chair, avoiding her eyes. He didn't want to be there, that much was obvious. But the district insisted. Some kind of mediated meeting. Restorative dialogue, they called it. Jordan hadn't wanted it either, not at first. But her dad had asked her one simple question. Do you want him to hear you, or just hear about you? So she showed up. The mediator opened the meeting, explained how it would go, then stepped back and let silence do what it does. It was Jordan who spoke first. You humiliated me, she said, looking him straight in the eye. You targeted me because your son couldn't handle a girl being smarter than him. Bradley shifted in his seat, cleared his throat, still didn't meet her gaze. You followed me. You made me feel unsafe. You treated me like when all I ever did was study, go to work, and mind my business. The words were calm, steady, not loud, not cruel, just the truth. Bradley opened his mouth, closed it, then finally said, that wasn't my intention. She blinked. You spilled water on me, in front of everyone. What exactly was your intention? He went quiet again. Jordan didn't need an apology. Not really. What she needed was to look the man in the eye and know he knew what he did. She stood up, thanked the mediator, and walked out. Her message had already landed. Outside, Elijah was waiting by the car. No suit, no folder, just him, in a quiet strength that didn't ask for attention. She got in and exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for weeks. He looked over and asked, how'd it feel? She didn't smile. But she nodded, like I won without having to fight. He nodded back. That's what real power looks like. Jordan didn't go back to being invisible. She didn't want to. She started mentoring younger girls, joined a student justice group, wrote a piece for a teen column in the state paper. Not to stay in the spotlight, but to make sure her voice didn't go quiet again. Because once you've been silenced, speaking becomes a responsibility. Not everyone has a father like Elijah Banks. Not everyone has a paper trail, a good teacher, or a reporter willing to listen. Jordan knew that. That's why she spoke, for the ones who couldn't. That's what made her powerful. And Officer Keene, he didn't return to Melrose. His badge was suspended indefinitely. He tried to challenge it, but the system he thought was untouchable, it started doing what it was supposed to. Bit by bit, quietly, just like Elijah said. It's not about being loud. It's about being right. So what's the lesson here? Power without integrity is just noise. And silence, when it's full of truth, can shake the ground. If someone's ever made you feel small for doing the right thing, remember this. You don't have to match their energy. You just have to stay standing. If you felt something from this story, share it. Talk about it. Ask yourself who you'd be in Jordan's shoes. Or Elijah's. Because real change doesn't always start with shouting. Sometimes it starts with one quiet voice that refuses to disappear.